It's now time to talk to actress Sheila Vand about Dave Franco's horror film, The Rental. Boy, if you thought Airbnbs were scary, now they get much scarier in this film. Welcome to the Film Threat Podcast. I am Chris Gore. Yes, I am struggling. My voice. What can I say? But that will not stop me from talking to actress Sheila Vand, who appears in The Rental, which is a horror film. I was just telling her I saw it twice, including the best way to see The Rental. Highly recommend is at a drive-in. Before we talk about the film, I want to talk about that event. That was amazing. It's the first time I was at a theater since the lockdown. What was that experience like for you? I could tell you guys were having fun. I mean, we had masks on, but it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was wild. It was very surreal. It was my first time also at a gathering that large, but I thought they did such a great job of making sure we were all social distance. Everybody kept their masks on, and it was such a fun way to see. It was also my first time at a drive-in. So to feel that collective energy again, and even though we all, there was a car's worth of space between each car, so even the cars were social distance, but you could still feel everybody's energy, and I missed that sort of that collective feeling around movies, and particularly horror movies. So it was wild. I'm so glad that it worked out, because I was a little nervous going into it, especially not having seen that many people in a long time.
It was weird. Yeah, I saw friends of mine who are fellow people who cover movies. They were there, and it was the first time I'd seen them since everything. It was very strange. What was weird was I'm a veteran of the drive-in. Maybe that doesn't surprise you, but I thought what was cool about it is
now I'm going to be going to them all the time.
It's so fun. It's so fun. I've been going for years, but one of the things I thought was interesting where there were a lot of people who never been to the drive-in, and normally people applaud when they love something. They see someone's name on screen, they see something happen on screen that they agree with, and people honk their cars.
Yeah.
Did you notice that was great?
It was so fun. Yeah. And they were flashing their headlights. And so you still got a bit of that audience interaction, which was really nice. And I was glad we were still able to do the Q&A from inside of our cars on Zoom. And so, it's just this whole new pandemic world that we're all adjusting to.
Yeah. Well, drive-ins, actually The Rental is opening in drive-ins. So
yeah,
if you can see it, it is one of those great movies to see at the drive-in. A friend of mine was so excited because, I can text during the movie and I'm not going to bother anybody. That's not something I would do, but like if you're in your car, you can text. So
yeah, you can be in your own little world, your own little bubble.
Love it. Now let's talk about the movie. First of all, I was really Dave Franco. I've enjoyed as an actor for years. I'm sure you have as well. This is his first directing gig. What drew you to the project, and how did Dave get you involved? And what did you think? Dave Franco, I'm going to make a horror movie.
Yeah, it's not what you would expect right off the bat. But I met with Dave after he reached out through a few different mutual friends. And when I read the script, first of all, I was really excited by it, because it's about a very specific thing that I'm actually afraid of, which is being spied on. And I feel like there's so many privacy issues in the world we live in today, but particularly in this world where like everything is operated through apps, and we kind of just hand trust away sometimes without questioning it. And so yeah, I was excited to look. And I stay in rentals a lot. So I was excited to do a movie that actually plays off of a real fear of my own. It made me think this could legitimately be scary. And then when I met Dave, also, he had such a specific vision for how he wanted to make it. It was very clear that he wanted to maintain something that was still very stylized visually and kind of nostalgic visually. And he was also really excited to have more developed relationships because sometimes with horror movies, some of the character development, some of the relationship stuff sort of falls to the wayside of the horror. And he was really interested in doing something where people really cared about what was going on interpersonally with these people just as much as the fun and the scares. And I think he did a great job. I think he executed what he wanted, and I'm excited for people to see it.
Well, you brought up a great thing about this film, which is the interpersonal relationships are part of this movie. They're an integral part. And that's something, you're right. Mostly in horror movies, it's like you can kind of go, well, that person's going to get off. Person is going to get killed first. This is the person that's going to last to the end. And you're kind of sussing out. The drama in this is so palpable because the tension is as much about the relationships between the characters as it is with this looming threat, which I don't want to get into too much about the second half of the movie because there are so many great twists that you do not see coming, which I think is great. But like the setup of those interpersonal relationships is so critical to the success of the film. Can you talk about
any horror even comes in? It sort of starts with the paranoia between them and some of the mistakes they make.
Yeah, and I'm glad you didn't brought up the privacy issue. Like I've stayed in Airbnbs a few times, and I always feel it's invasive. I'm at someone's personal home. They have all their belongings here, some stuff locked up, but it just every time I stayed in an Airbnb, there's something about it that I guess maybe I like the generic nature of hotels, but I'm so glad that you brought up that point too. It's like you're asking all the best questions. What do you need me for? But yeah, like Airbnbs are, and there's even the point in the beginning of the movie where the booking of the Airbnb is soured. That is, I mean, that's something that's happened in the news, and you've heard people had bad experiences that way with different Airbnb owners that are, just less than good people. And so I just thought that mixing all those elements in, really for the first half of the film, you don't know like what is the threat. There are multiple threats that can be coming from many places. But can you tell me about how working with all this ensemble cast is great, by the way. Yeah. I mean, it's really like 4 or 5 people in the whole movie, right? I mean, there's some other, and a very cute dog. But yeah, what was it like with that dynamic? And I feel really ignorant. I don't really keep up with Alison Brie and Dave Franco are together. Is that right? Like,
yes, they're married.
Okay. I didn't know that. So
I didn't either until being part of this film.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. It's good, but I don't really keep up with the relationships that people. I don't know. Celebrity gossip is not my thing. Not a TMZ watcher, but I love movies and things. So tell me what that dynamic was like, because it seemed like, especially having seen the Zoom Q&A and you interact during the drive-in event, everyone's you guys are all friends.
It's such a good group of people. Yeah. Dave really does his due diligence in vetting people. And I think it's really important to him that the people he chooses are all down to earth and of a certain caliber. So that was really great. I felt like he just brought together such a good group of people. And that was another big thing that drew me to this project, was this cast and how much I admire these guys and admire their work. And it's fun to do a movie where it's really about an ensemble. And like you said, there's only 4 or 5 people in the whole film. So, it's a little bit more like a play in that sense. You have more scenes to play with each other and build a chemistry and a dynamic that you might not be able to in a film that has tons and tons of characters. So it was great. I loved working with those guys. Those guys are all good people, great actors. And Dave and Allie being married was just a really sweet and warm extra energy to have on set. But it's not like, they're such consummate professionals, the two of them, that it's, besides sometimes getting to see Allie just, go up to Dave at the monitor and enjoy that moment with him, like that, they was obviously very professional on set. And but I could imagine that sometimes working with a married couple might not be.
Yeah, for sure. I guess it could cause some issues, but could cause some issues. Where did you guys shoot, and where did you stay? Did you stay somewhere? I mean, that place was so huge. You could have stayed there and made the movie.
That place was so beautiful. Yeah, we shot in Bandon, Oregon, and it's just right on the coastline of Oregon. It's really, really beautiful place. Small town, very small town vibes, just a few restaurants there. Pretty much by the end of the first week that we were in Bandon, like everybody in town knew us and knew we were there, and we knew pretty much everybody else in town. We were regulars at all the spots by the end of the first week. But it's a very charming and sweet place. I was very happy to spend 6 weeks there, and it's just really nice being up in the Pacific Northwest. And the house itself is just kind of in the middle of nowhere. It's really windy roads to get up there. It almost feels like a little ominous just driving to set every day. But it was really beautiful, and it's fun to sometimes, again, like it can be a disaster to do a movie where everything's just contained in one house, but this set was run so well, and they did such a good job. And also because it was such a gigantic house, it was actually a nice thing to have everything be that contained. I feel like, again, it felt like a play almost, and like this house was our stage or something. And in the movie, it serves as such a great pressure cooker for all of the drama right before it explodes.
Well, it had just the right amount of claustrophobia. It was remote location. And so that added to, and also it's weird to sort of contrast that beauty with the ugliness underneath, that was occurring both in the relationships and the privacy and other stuff that I don't want to get into too much, because I don't want to ruin anything. But I do want to talk about that last half of the film, which is harrowing, not giving anything away, but what was it like to shoot those scenes? Because obviously, look, you're going to a horror movie, The Rental, you're going to see some things that are horrific. Mm-hmm. Shooting those scenes just seems so intense. How was that handled? How did you guys pull that off?
Yeah, well, it's so funny doing these as kind of like Zoom interviews. I'm not used to seeing myself.
Oh no. Okay. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Get used to it. That's part of why I love doing horror movies. And again, another reason why I wanted to do this project is that you get this opportunity to be a lot more theatrical in a horror movie. Like you can kind of ratchet up the volume on your performance in a way that you don't get to do in just like a realistic drama. So for me, it's really fun to be on to go all the way, but also to be on the side of it's I don't want to give too much away about what happens, but basically it's fun to do those heightened kind of scenes where the shit has hit the fan, and that you're kind of taking the audience now on this part of the ride that's taking off. And yeah, like I said, it's a lot more theatrical. You can make kind of bigger and bolder choices because it's literally a life or death situation in the film. So the stakes are that much more heightened, and we had a lot of fun, but it's also really a rigorous kind of physically as far as the acting goes, especially my character, without giving too much away, ends up doing a bit of running, and I am not the most athletic person in the world. So that was funny. And there was some interesting things in the filming of it too, where there were some portions of the horror, again, without giving too much away, that were shot during dusk, and there's only there's about 30 shootable minutes in that kind of blue hour. And so something that I guess some people don't always think about when you watch a scene in a movie is how, like, those little logistics of how they're shot. And so when you write something in a script that takes place at dusk, sometimes you have to separate the scheduling of shooting that over a few days because you only have a small window to shoot. And so as an actor, that means you have to jump right back into the horror each day. Like if your whole death or murder or killing isn't all scheduled for one day, you can have an interesting experience, which I don't want to give too much away.
Well, that's golden hour, right? That's what cinematographers call it. That golden hour, that right as the sun.
Well, magic hour is
magic
right.
Hour.
Right. Yeah, that's where everything gets very orangey and very warm, glowy. But then there's, I think it's called blue hour, right after magic hour, where the sun is already set and the color temperature is a little bit cooler and bluer. But again, it's a really small window of the evening that you have to do that in. It looks beautiful and very cinematic, and it's worth it. But again, yeah, just one of those little behind the scenes things that you don't always think of.
Wow. Well, you've had a remarkable career, and a lot of people that listen to the Film Threat podcast or watch us here on YouTube want to get tips from people that are in the industry. Do you have, like, if your closest friend was going to direct their first film or pursue a career as an actor, do you have any advice you would impart to a close friend that wants to pursue a career and be Sheila Vand?
Oh gosh, I'm still figuring out how to be Sheila Vand, to be honest. But in general, I think two of the things that have been the most valuable for me in persevering, because it is a really difficult path in a lot of ways, and can be super competitive and sometimes exclusive. Although the world is changing and things are getting a little better with inclusivity. But I think instead of thinking about your career as some sort of like, I have to get to this, to get to this, to get to this. Just start making your own stuff before waiting for anybody else to kind of give you the opportunity, even if it's on a smaller scale, even if it's a low budget short, even if it's a play with your friends, that it's really important to continue to write and make your own stuff. Because I've just found moving through this industry that a lot of my favorite opportunities have been ones that I've sought out myself or created myself. And community is the other thing I was going to say, is like, it's not about like schmoozing and networking. And there's so much kind of like weird cultural pollution in Hollywood about this stuff. But it's about building community and supporting your friends and supporting other people when they want to make their own stuff, and then asking them to support you. And then you'll sort of see that organically often will end up in something that resembles a career. But that's how it's gone for me, at least. I think the best work I've done, the work that has really defined my career so far, the stuff I'm the most proud of, has come from relationships I've developed over the years with writers and directors, with certain things I've made with my own voice and my own words. And that's what I'd say. I hope that's useful.
I think it's really useful. I really think that I believe like what Mark Duplass said, just like, the cavalry isn't coming. Use what the resources you have, and make whatever content that you can. So, well, I have to thank our sponsor. We actually have a sponsor that ties in Storyblocks. If you go to storyblocks.com/film threat, it's tools for filmmakers. If you want to listen to Sheila Vand and make your own content, Storyblocks is going to be a huge resource to up your game as a filmmaker and as a creator. And Sheila, I cannot wait until this movie opens in drive-ins, so that my friends who could not get into that screening, it was packed. I mean, they sold tickets and they had press there, and there were 500 cars. It was amazing. And I hope it brings back the drive-in. And the rental is opening. When is it opening? Can you tell us?
July 24th.
July 24th. Get to your drive-in. Sheila, thank you so much for talking to us on the Film Threat podcast. The movie is great, and you are a pleasure to talk to. Thank you so much.
Have a good one.
All right, you too. Take care.